Thank you, everyone, for confirming that you can all hear me okay. Great. Let's get this presentation underway. Thank you again for joining us on this presentation today. And we're going to have a good speaker today. I'm going to introduce to you Josh Turner. Josh is the founder of Linked Selling and Linked University. He's been doing some great webinars for us, and he's pretty excited to be here as well. We also have on the panel today Clinton Rosario. Clinton is the brains behind the eGrabber tools that we've been developing, and he's been doing some great presentations along with some key influencers as well. And the voice that you're hearing, that's me, Rich Kumar. I've been working with eGrabber for about 5 years as a customer success manager. We're all excited to get you this presentation underway, and let's begin. Without further ado, Josh, take it away.
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate the intro there, and I just want to make sure everybody can hear me too before I just start going off and diving into things. So let's see here. Rich, does the audio sound all right on your end? Okay, looks like most people in the chat are saying audio is good to go. Okay, great. So, guys, I know that not everybody with us today really knows a lot about me or my company. I know a lot of you do, though, so I'm not going to dwell on this stuff for long, but I want to give you just a quick 60-second intro so that then when I start getting into some of the things that we're going to show you and share with you, with the tactics that we're using to generate leads, that you realize, okay, well, why does this person, why is this person credible to talk on these topics? So essentially, I started using LinkedIn in 2006, all right? And at the time, I was member number 6,398,159, which pretty early on. Now, LinkedIn has over 259 million members, all right? And unlike a lot of people, I didn't just have a profile set up just for the sake of having it. I was actually using LinkedIn from the start to actually develop business and for prospecting for various different businesses I was involved in, all right? But back when I started, I was the CFO of a construction and manufacturing company, and then fast forward to 2009, that company closed. I think a lot of you know this story, but that's when I went out on my own and started Gateway CFO Solutions, which has morphed into Linked Selling, which is the client side of our business. And a lot of people think that we just run Linked University and that's our main thing. But and although it is one of our main things, Linked University is actually not the biggest part of our business. The biggest part of our business are clients that pay us to generate leads for them. And one of the ways we do that is using LinkedIn, but we also use a lot of outbound email. We use a lot of Facebook advertising for some different things, and content marketing. So there's a lot of things we're doing to generate leads for our clients. But of course, it's great to be known as really one of the top companies in the world regarding growing your business on LinkedIn. And so there's a lot of stuff there about places we've been featured in, and Huffington Post had some nice things to say about us, which we're proud of, and we use that quote all the time. So some of you might be tired of seeing that at this point. But basically, there's 6 things we want to go over today. All right. And Rich, if you can move to the next slide. Well, first, let me just tell everybody before I jump into it that you can follow any of us on Twitter, and you see the handles there. Okay. And any questions or comments you have as we go along, feel free to use the hashtag LUAR, which stands for Linked University Account Researcher. So LUAR is the hashtag we'll be using today. So that said, let's talk quickly about really the main things that we're going to go over today. All right, and what we're going to talk about here is really this is what today's all about. How do you identify prospects, and then how do you get in front of them? And then once you're in front of them, how do you make sure that your approach is successful and that the call you have with them is successful? All right, and I also want to mention that a lot of the stuff we're showing you today, well, not a lot, but all of it, are things that my company is doing on a daily basis. So this isn't just some theory or made-up stuff. The things I'm going to show you are things that we're using for ourselves and for our clients on a regular basis to generate leads and to get in front of more prospects. So I'm going to show you some things we're doing to identify prospects and talk about that. we're going to show you some easy ways that you can then find their emails and phone numbers, okay? Because just identifying a prospect, well, that's great, but what if you don't know how to get in front of them at that point? Then it's really worthless, right? We're going to show you how to actually execute on getting the emails or the initial calls done. And then I'm going to go over our process for following up, all right? Because, look, if you are only sending one message or making one call to a prospect, you might as well not do it, because we see over half the positive responses come through this follow-up strategy that I'm going to show you. All right, then we're going to talk about actually having the initial phone call, okay, and then the importance of having the intelligence to build relationships and understand your prospect's needs really even before you get on the phone with them, and how you can easily get that information. So before I dive into things, though, we've got a poll, and we're basically, going to ask you here, how do you, oh, I'm sorry, here's the poll. I had the polls in the reverse order. Have you felt awkward starting a conversation while cold calling your prospects? And that's through the phone or through emailing a prospect. So with your first approach, when you first get somebody on the phone, do you often feel awkward with that conversation? And go ahead and plug in your answer there, and Rich will let us know what the results are. So let's just take about 10 seconds here and give everybody time to plug in their answer. And I got to say, for me, it has been a problem in the past. And there's almost no way to completely eliminate it in all cases, because sometimes you'll get on the phone with people and they're just difficult. But there's a lot you can do to break down those barriers. So good to see that I'm not alone on that we've all felt like that at a certain point. And there's 18% of people on this call today who are built of steel and don't have those feelings getting ready for calls. But we're going to show you some things that you can do to really minimize that and make calling a lot less awkward. So let's start off with the first thing on the list here, with identifying and finding prospects, all right? And I'm going to focus on LinkedIn here, okay? Because, there are a lot of different ways you can find prospects, of course. Depending on your business, there's just a slew of things you should and could be doing. You can use Jigsaw to find prospects. You can go on Craigslist to find prospects. You can use Facebook to find prospects. There's a lot of different things you can be doing, but for, I think, the majority of us on the call today, we realize that the best place to easily go find prospects and segment our market to get to people is LinkedIn. And you can see a search here, okay, that is for anybody on LinkedIn, so first degree, second degree, group members, and third, in 2 specific industries, nonprofit and civic and social. So if you are going after leaders of nonprofit organizations, for example, this would be a very meaningful search for you. And then we've got director, CXO, owner, and partner as the seniority title filter, okay? And then we've got the company size. So we're saying, well, we don't really want really small companies or nonprofits. We want them between 11 and 200 is what we're saying here, all right? And essentially, and I see a couple comments about the audio fading in and out. I apologize if that's happening on your end, but I'm going to just keep moving forward. And for any of you who, for some reason, I'll just say this, have any technical difficulties that prevent you from staying with us the whole time, I will say that I believe we're going to send out a replay of this, that Rich and Clinton will get that to you. But I would really encourage you to stay on, because we've got something at the end for everybody that's with us here live today. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. Let me just say that right now. So with this, you can easily within LinkedIn find lots of prospects, right? I mean, here we got 4,000 results of very targeted people. Well, what are you going to do with this, right? So you might even filter it down further than that and find a couple hundred, a few hundred. All right? Yeah, good comment from Tom that just came in. A replay would be great for review. So, yeah, we're going to go through a lot today, and I would just encourage people to sit back and really take this in. You will have a chance to go back through it. So here's the thing, though. What are you going to do with all this information, right? You know that in-mails are very expensive. So let's go on to the next slide here, and let's talk about approach now. This is a good segue to that. You can look at LinkedIn in a couple different ways, right? Because you have to now think, how am I going to get into these people, all right? And you can either send an in-mail, and I think we're missing a couple bullets there. There we go. Good. You can send them an in-mail, and that's expensive, right? But you can reach pretty much anybody on LinkedIn that way. But look, let's say you've got 300 really good prospects that you want to work for the next couple weeks, and that's going to cost you $3,000 of in-mail. So that's typically not an affordable option for most of us. Or you can message them through groups that you share with prospects. All right, and that's great, and we utilize that extensively. That's one of the best things about LinkedIn is the ability to be able to do that. But you can't get to everybody with it, right? There's a lot of people that you'll see in search results that you're not in a group with, and you can only join up to 50 groups at one time, so you can't get to all those people. All right, so you can see here, this is a screenshot from Nick on my team. Nick's our director of lead generation, and this is some of the outreach that he's been doing and responses he's been getting to it through LinkedIn over the last, well, what is that? That's really just the last, 5 days or 7 days, right? So we're doing a lot of outreach on LinkedIn using both in-mails and group messages, but we know that there's really a lot of our prospects that we're not going to be able to get through on LinkedIn because we can't just join every group that exists, right? And so you guys understand that at this point. So what do we do then? Well, the next tactic that we look towards is email, okay? And so let's move to the next slide, Rich. Everybody has email, all right? We love LinkedIn because it is a tremendously effective way to stand out because people's LinkedIn inboxes aren't as crowded as their email inboxes, but email is very effective, and we really put it at really a even playing field as LinkedIn. And in fact, sometimes what we see is there are some people that don't check their LinkedIn inboxes, and because of that, we're only going to be able to reach them through email. So what you see here is a screenshot from one of our client campaigns that we're currently running, and essentially what we're doing for him is we are using some of the tools that we're going to show you today to build prospect lists and reach out to people cold to tell them about his services. These are very direct emails because he's in a kind of a unique situation where it can work at a percentage high enough to get him results. So you can see here responses from people, and you can see the first one, they say, hey, we're not interested. The next one is, please call me so we can discuss. The next one is, thanks for reaching out. I'll forward your information. Then we've got a few of people that are not interested, and then we've got another one asking questions and somewhat interested about what he does. All right? So this is very effective. And of course, if you can't get through to him on LinkedIn and email, phone is also very effective. All right? And it doesn't have to be one or the other with this tactics. Oftentimes you want to think about really layering your prospecting, especially if you've got a really specific market, and have kind of a campaign mindset where you might do an initial approach on LinkedIn. If that doesn't work, move it to email. And then from there, if that doesn't work, pick up the phone. Okay? And what you'll see happen is that by making those touch points, at some point along the way, you are going to get that person to bite. And they're either going to talk to you or respond to you at some point. So you can then either elevate it or take them off your prospect list, right? And I'll tell you, there are a lot of people out there who feel like phone is actually the most effective approach, And think about it this way. I read a great article about this the other day. Somebody, it was one of the industry-leading blogs regarding sales management, and they were talking about cold calling and how a lot of people don't want to do it, so they make excuses and they say things like, yeah, well, I don't want to bother my prospects on the phone. Well, if you're emailing them and putting your message in their inbox, it's really taking as much time as calling them and leaving them a message in a lot of cases. And also, a phone call can be much more efficient than a string of emails. You can achieve in a 10-minute phone call with somebody what might take 10 to 15 email exchanges. All right? So phone has got to be a critical part of what you're doing. And if it's important enough to reach out to somebody using LinkedIn or email, then you need to be willing to pick up the phone as well. Now, for some of us, maybe you say, you know what, by executing on some of these strategies with LinkedIn and email, I won't need to pick up the phone because I'm getting enough good leads from that. Well, that's great. That's a perfect situation. But then what about the people that you're giving up on after that point? So there's some missed opportunity there. So really, though, what I want to talk about now is that process I mentioned earlier that we're using for emailing and or LinkedIn messaging. So if we can move on to that next screen, Rich, here's really the basic framework for how we structure this. And I would encourage you to take this and really model it for yourself. All right. But this is a very similar framework that most businesses can use. All right. And one important thing about this is that you have the response scripts roughed out ahead of time so that you can be efficient with your work. Okay. Because really what we're talking about here, whether it's first email or first LinkedIn group message or first LinkedIn in-mail, what we're talking about is reaching out to a lot of prospects so that you can generate a lot of leads. And whether you can reach out to hundreds in a given week or whether you can reach out to 10 a week, whatever it is, you will save yourself a lot of time and put in the right kind of planning and really think about these issues ahead of time so that what you're sending people that respond is very effective. All right, and I'll just tell you right now, we currently with the campaigns we're running for our own lead generation efforts, I'm not going to speak directly about our clients, but we are emailing between 200 and 300 prospects a week, and that's via email, and we are reaching out to approximately 100 to 150 prospects a week on LinkedIn. So that's, I think that's a pretty decent amount of number for a company of my size. We have 7 people on my team, only one person that is solely devoted to business development. So for us, it's a lot of activity, and he gets a lot of responses that require us to have a system in place to manage that level of lead volume or responses from people. And so what we're looking at here is essentially the first approach on the left, okay? And then they're either going to respond, which is the top purple box, or they're not going to respond. Now, if they don't respond, we have a second message that's queued up. And I typically recommend sending that a couple weeks after the first one. All right, and then if they don't respond to that second message, you could consider a third message. Oftentimes, we will kind of leave it at the second one and look to what other options do we have for getting in front of these people. All right, but keep in mind again, these are cold messages to people that most of them have never heard of us before they got this first email or first message on LinkedIn from us. Right, and so at this point, if you do have some aspect of cold calling or getting on the phone as part of your campaign, which again I would recommend, then you would probably want to have that in there after the second email. So at the top though, if they do respond, you'll get usually 3 types of questions. Either they say, yeah, let's go ahead and schedule a call, or I am interested, but please follow up next month and we can schedule a call, something of that variety. And then it's easy. You just go forward and you schedule that call. Or you might get someone that says, hey, what's this about? Because again, if you have an email that's a sales pitch, in a lot of industries that doesn't work very well. So you want to really minimize the whole, here's what we do and how great we are, and you want to focus it more on the relationships and how you can help them and all that good stuff. And when you do that, sometimes maybe you're not crystal clear on what you do, so they might wonder, well, why do you want to talk to me? So you need a response ready for that in that case. And it's in that event that you might follow up with the more detail. And then you'll get people that say, no thanks, I'm not interested. And of course, at that point, you can either just ignore those or you can have a response script to say, thanks, I appreciate it. All right. So this is a process that works well for us. And I don't think I've told you anything that is revolutionary here. I think the important thing is that you map this out for yourself so that when you start executing on these kinds of systems and when you start reaching out to hundreds of prospects a week or hundreds of prospects a month or whatever the volume is that you're comfortable with, all right, that you've really got it down, you've got a systematic process in place so that it's as efficient as possible so that it's all super, super manual, all right? And there was a question in here about, are you manually doing this or triggering? And I think the question is, are these emails and LinkedIn messages manual or somehow automated? And there's a combination of all of the above. I mean, we've developed systems that we use for ourselves and our clients that make a lot of this pretty efficient. But that still gets down to really two big problems, that even when you have an efficient process for executing this, and let's go on to the next slide. This is a good time to talk about this, that there's still two problems, okay? And it's one, how do you get the people's emails and their phone number in the first place? Because typically that stuff's, not just sitting on their LinkedIn profile waiting for you to get it. And then two, what are you going to do once you get on the phone with them? This goes back to the question we talked about earlier. You want to avoid those awkward phone calls, and you want to be really well prepared so that you can build rapport with these prospects. So I think we have another poll maybe coming up. Clinton, do we have another poll here?
Yes, we do, and that would be how long would you spend researching an email address and a phone number right now?
Yeah, and let me talk about this a little bit too, because people typically get phone numbers and emails in a pretty manual way, right? And we used to do it manually, and it took a long time. When Ben and I I don't know, 4 years ago, started working together on a lot of different projects, and one of the things we were doing was outreach to people. We would use Craigslist to find prospects who were in certain types of industries based on job postings that they were putting out there, and finding emails from their companies that way, and sometimes going on their websites then. And so we'd identify prospects on Craigslist, go to their website, find the email there, put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And it was an extremely manual process that sometimes could take, I was going to go with the initial one, but for a given prospect, I was going to say 10 minutes on average to dig around the internet and find their email and or phone number. And oftentimes it was just one or the other, typically not both. So with that, what we're going to talk about now is really how you can address those problems for your business and really eliminate them so that you can easily get emails and phone numbers, so that you can execute to get really in front of a lot of prospects. And the system that these guys are going to walk you through now, and I'm going to hand it over to Clinton here in a second, is something that we use in my business and for some of our clients that hire us to do some of these types of things on a daily basis. All right, and this stuff, it works very well, and that's why I'm happy to have these guys on and really recommend this process to anybody who's looking to get better information on their prospects, so that you can, one, reach out to them, so that you even have the information to reach out to them, meaning email and phone number. All right, and so that when you get on the phone with them, you've got intelligence about them that allows you to build rapport really quickly. So let me hand it over to you now, Clinton.
Hey, thanks, Josh. So most of the time you're at a LinkedIn search which looks like this, and if you're prospecting, if you're doing your sales calls, you're in the drift. You want to glide from one call to another call. And you really want to leave out the mechanical task of opening a different browser, going to the website. And if the record's not on the website, then go to another place, maybe a database, search there, don't get it there, come here. So a lot of the mechanics kind of breaks the drift that you're going in your cold call, that you're going in your prospecting time. So because of all this, okay, what we did is, we being a software company, we have a few tricks up our sleeve. So we automated a lot of these processes to make things so easy, so that if you can click a button, okay, and a lot of salespeople like the way we did it. We showed them, if you can just highlight a name in a company, wherever it is, if it's on LinkedIn, if it's somewhere else, and click a button. And if a software did all the research for you and put everything together in a neat business card in 60 seconds or so, would that be great? I'm talking about email address, phone numbers, and nowadays, well, back then it was Craigslist for Josh, but now I'm sure Josh would have had to do a lot more things, right, Josh? There's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's a lot of other stuff that you'll have to look at, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that would have taken 10 minutes back then for you, Josh, but now it could take a lot longer. So what we did is we created a software, and we called the software the Account Researcher, and we made it so easy. You click a button, and the software does all the manual research that you need to do and to get a business card. And the nice thing about it is, since people wanted to figure out, where did we get that information from, we gave them, we actually provide the source document from where you get that, all the contact information on the web. And sometimes this can be a gold mine. Okay, we call it a discovery trail. You might find more about your prospect. You might find data on the internet that you never knew about your prospect, and that might be the closing thing, the one thing that helps you close the deal. Okay, and some people ask us how this whole system works, how the Account Researcher works. How do you take a name in a company and then get an email address, phone number, and all these things? Well, we don't have a database. eGrabber doesn't keep a database, but we create tools. We're creating tools. So what our tools do is, it does what a human being, in fact, it does what an expert does. Okay, so we being in a current position inside the industry, we get to talk to a lot of people, like talk to Josh, talk to a lot of experts and learn what they do, and we package them together in a neat thing, and we allow people, we keep provided so that a lot of people can use it. So who doesn't want to work like an expert? So what software does is, it does exactly what an expert does. It takes the name of the company, and it simultaneously looks at a lot of places on the internet where you can have email addresses, phone numbers, and other contact information. And it does it, it's a machine, so it does it very quickly. If it finds an email address, phone number, or postal address, it points you to it gives you a discovery trail, points you to the actual document which is there. And if it can't find something on the internet, no matter how big the internet is, it scans a lot of corners of the internet, I can tell you that much. And if it can't find any information, any actual contact information of your prospect, what it does is it looks around, because sometimes colleagues leave email addresses and phone numbers on the internet. So what it does is, it looks around, it looks at the pattern of email addresses, and then takes an educated guess and says, you know what, I think you should try this email address. So this is most probably going to be the email address that this person is going to be using. So basically, an expert would do this. The software does it in about 60 seconds of time. And how accurate is it? Well, if it's on the internet, there's a 95% chance that the software is going to find it. If you compare it, head to head with an expert researcher, that's how good it is. It's 3 times as fast if it's guessing, and it's sometimes 3 times as better because it can do a lot of things. Just to prove a point, we actually went ahead and patented this whole process, so you know that the whole system works. Okay, and that's what we did. We took a name in a company, click a button, and then the Account Researcher software, which Josh was mentioning, this creates all the contact information over this one of your prospect. So Josh, what's your experience in using the software or eGrab products?
Well, we've been using your guys' products since 2012, I believe, and I mean, we've generated hundreds of leads using your products and using the software, both with LeadGrabber Pro and with Account Researcher. And so, I mean, I honestly could not imagine doing business without the software, because it's one of the 4 key tactics we use to generate leads. And not having the software would be like chopping one of our legs off, to be honest with you.
Thanks, Josh. That's flattering. Thank you.
Well, it's true.
Thank you very much. So before I jump off, okay, another quick thing. I'd like to know how many of you actually start off with the name of a company. Okay, if you start off your prospecting with the name of a company, and not just from LinkedIn. Okay, no, I mean, one way of doing a search is You go to LinkedIn, you put in your filters, and then you do an advanced search and you get the list. That's one way of doing it. But a lot of I know a lot of sales companies just give you a list of target companies and say, go ahead, get business from these companies. So how many of you actually start from a company? So there's a poll running right now, and
yeah, and I'll go in from my experience, Clinton. What I've seen with
sure,
our clients, we see probably 20% of our clients, maybe 20 to 30, maybe, actually are more interested in saying, here are the specific companies I want to target. Go get them. And then the other have a more general criteria of like industry and titles and things like that. But we see a lot of people who have specific company lists that they're going after, and that can be very effective when you have that kind of, well, look at that, 34% in the,
wow.
Yeah, at the top. So that's 0 to 20% of people. All right, I get it. Okay. So, but let me finish my statement.
Yeah.
But when you have that kind of information of like, there's these specific companies I'm going to target, that makes your prospecting and your outreach that really, really laser focused, and you can be very effective.
Josh, how would you advise companies to start off with? I mean, which tactic would be much better? Go for a LinkedIn, or go for a targeted search, or go for other techniques? Which one should they start off with?
Well, I typically will advise people to start the search on LinkedIn, all right? And sometimes, I've seen some questions come in regarding that initial search that I showed on finding prospects where I had 4,000 results. Well, one way to do it is to segment that by zip codes, all right, so that you can segment those 4,000 results down and track the different geographic areas that you're kind of slicing and dicing the market with. And then you can perform a bunch of different searches to get to all 4,000 of those people, all right? So then you can find data on LinkedIn. If you don't have the company information, now you've got it, or you've got specific people to target. And so typically we go from, LinkedIn searches to then how are we going to execute on it, whether it's via email or if we can get the people on LinkedIn, then we try that as well.
Got it. So, and if that technique doesn't work, I guess they can try the company technique, in parallel, and then mix up the results as they go along, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's situation is different, and depending on who you're going to try and reach, it really depends on what the tactic is going to be that you should use.
Got it. And if you're starting off from a company, okay, and finding decision maker is one of those issues that you're going to have, because typically if you have a company name, you won't have the name of the person who you need to contact you, and then once you get the name of the person, you'll have to get the email address, phone number, and a lot of other things. Again, it kind of breaks your drift if you're doing prospecting and cold calling. So what we did was, we being a software company, we put this in a nice flow, so you can just type in the name of the company, press a button or two, and the software will go do the search, and in maybe about a few seconds, 60-30 seconds, it will bring up a list of people who would be a target. It will also give you a discovery trail and show you what else you could learn about these people, about your target prospects, where you could find them. And moving on, if you get the target prospects, and if you want to do some research, then that's another critical piece that we want to put in, because once you have research, then you need to get on the phone with people and then in 30 seconds convince them that you should be they should be doing business with you, or if it's an email, then maybe 2 lines, 3 lines is all you have before you actually before they hit the delete button, or they say, call me back. So Josh, you had a few things to say on why company research was so important.
Yeah, so I think that it just goes back to one of the things I mentioned earlier, Clinton, and what we were talking before we got on today, and I was just mentioning some of the things that it can do related to, well, of course, the obvious with getting emails and phone numbers. That's really the huge value here, but then it also gives you information by scanning the internet and pulling in anything it can find out about a prospect or a company so that you can see what are their recent tweets, what's their Facebook page, anything it can find about news or press that these people have had. And then when you get on the phone with people, you can know all sorts of stuff about them, which allows you to then jump into a much more productive conversation where you're not just kind of awkwardly floundering around for the first 30 seconds. So it's just what you say here. You have 30 seconds to impress your prospect on a cold call. Well, what if you start that call off and you already know that this person's a huge fan of the Denver Broncos, right? So now would be a great time to then mention that on the call and say, hey, Scott, I saw you're a big Broncos fan. I was looking at your Twitter profile. Awesome game last weekend, huh? And then all of a sudden you're into a much better conversation with somebody.
And I heard a story from one of my sales reps the other day. He was following a company, and he noticed that there were suddenly job openings for inside sales reps in that organization, and then he reached out saying, hey, you know what, I have a tool which can help you build targeted lists for your sales team and keep their lead pipeline going. Would you be interested to talk? And just because he did that research and found that they're hiring salespeople, he got a response in like 5 minutes. They wrote back and said, this is very timely. Can we talk right now? So
yeah, that's great.
Sales, pretty good. So once you're able to do that research, okay, you know what triggers people into action. And besides, it's the start of the year, so there are lots of initiatives going right now. So before I sign off, okay, we have had questions in the past on how eGrabber, if you compare it with InMail, how does it differentiate? Well, this software, this account researcher software, the nice thing about it is you can actually get the email. We give you the business email and the business phone number, and that's yours to own, and that's yours to keep in your CRM. If you're using InMails, that's great. It costs you, but if you can afford it, it's great. You still don't get their business email address until they connect. Okay. Another problem of the InMail is if you send too many InMails, and this is something that not too many people know until it actually hits them, there's something called the I don't know button. So if you're sending connection requests to a lot of people, and even 5 of them say that I don't know you, okay, there's a button, if you've noticed, it's very subtle, but if they click that button, and if 5 of them click that button, then LinkedIn's going to flag you out, and either one of 2 things happen. Either they lock your account out temporarily, and you'll write to them saying, okay, I'm connecting too fast, kindly restore my LinkedIn connection, blah, blah, blah. Or they might actually put some restrictions on the new connections that you make. And not many people face this, but when you do, that's when you know that you've been connecting too fast. With any new connection that you send out, any fresh connection, they're always going to ask you for an email address. They say, give me an email address, then only then I'm going to let you send this connection request to that person. So there's a LinkedIn reputation which you have to keep. So sending too many emails, trying to reach out to too many people can be harmful, okay? But if you're able to reach their inbox, their email address, well, at least if your subject line is great, you have a chance of them clicking on your email, seeing it, and then deciding whether to contact you or not, even say no thanks, or maybe call him back later. So that's with that kind of thing, and you can sometimes the ROI works out to be more than 10 times per month. Okay. Last question for me. Okay. How many of you have sources of leads which are LinkedIn or other than LinkedIn? There's a poll which Rich is going to launch right now, and if you can quickly mark that. Yeah, Rich, I think you roll out the results right now.
Yeah, I'm just closing the poll. Just give it about 3 more seconds.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to share the results now.
Oh, there's a lot of others. Josh, in your experience, when you start working with new clients, what other sources of lead generation do they normally use other than LinkedIn?
Well, if you're looking at just online lead generation, I mean, there's obviously things like Twitter, Facebook, pay-per-click is big. Obviously, SEO is a big one. You know, content marketing is a big one, although that could be considered inbound, as could SEO be considered inbound. But then in the, just out and about in the real world, referrals are a big source of leads, both from just, people that you know around town, networking partners, but also referrals from clients. Mark just mentioned in the chat, cold calls is a big one for him. So, I mean, we could come up with a list of 50 lead generation sources,
Got it. Okay. But LinkedIn's kind of popular because it's got like 200 million prospects who constantly update their profiles and keep it up to date, right? So what we can do, so
yeah,
the reason I'm asking that, yeah, okay, that's the recent stats. Okay, good. So the reason I asked the question is, well, if you have a list of leads from anywhere, if you have the name of the company and there's no email address and phone number, the nice thing about the eGrabber software is you can put that thing in and it'll be able to find the missing pieces. The name of the company is pretty much all it requires. And once it's done, once you have the business card, a simple button click and put it straight into your Salesforce or whatever CRM you use, or if you prefer use Excel, I know a lot of businesses still use Excel even though Salesforce is out there, you can put it in Excel and keep that for you. Very easy to use. And this is the part that Josh was mentioning earlier, that this is our free giveaway, a free thank you to all the webinar attendees. Typically, this is how much the software sells for. That's about $875 a year. Since you've come to this webinar, we're saying a thank you. We give you a $335 worth package, and saying a thank you on this thing. So if you use the code which is on screen, and Rich will be pasting some links in your chat, in your GoToMeeting chat. If you use the code over there, and if you decide to download, or if you decide to buy it today, you can avail of those, okay, very quickly. And I'll keep that on for a second. And now that that means I'm done. Okay, I'm done with my part. So that's how we can use Account Researcher to get an email address and phone number from anywhere, get a decision maker list in together, very easy for you, and give you enough prospect information to start cold calling. And the real idea is, in your cold calling session, in your prospecting session, think of the manual things that you have to do. And eGrabber is the one which takes those manual things away and says, don't worry, you focus on your call, we'll get you the time to stay on the phone. And that's what eGrabber is all about. Rich, you have something to offer everyone in return. Go ahead.
Absolutely, yes. This is a little note of thanks from us for joining us today on this exciting webinar. We're going to offer you a fully functional 7-day trial of the Account Researcher tool, and I'm just going to paste the link to download that on your chat box right now. So you could go ahead and download it and play with the tool. Now, after this webinar, you'll be receiving email from me, from rich@egrabber.com, with the link to download the tool again, just in case you missed it in the chat, and we'll also be sending you a license key to play around with it. And if you have any questions, if you need any help, please reach out to me at the email and the phone number that you see on the screen, rich@egrabber.com, and the phone number that you have on the screen, and I'll be happy to help you with that. Not just with anything with the tool. If you have any questions, if you have used the tools before, we'd love to hear some feedback about that as well. So please do let us know about the tools. And I'm also going to paste a quick feedback for this webinar on your screen. So I appreciate if you could rate this webinar as well. Now, of course, I'm not going to publish these results. It's going to be more for our internal use. So if you could please rate that, we'd appreciate it. And we'll be taking in some questions shortly. So if you do have any questions for us, there's about 15 minutes still left on the webinar. You could go ahead and ask us your questions. Please keep using your questions box or your chat box and to ask us your questions, and we'll be answering those questions pretty shortly. All right. My email again, for people who missed it, it's rich@egrabber.com. And let me close this, and we'll just quickly go back to the presentation. Okay. My email is rich@egrabber.com.
Yeah, and I would
That's
recommend
right.
everybody on the call here just take advantage of the 7-day trial that these guys are offering, because I think you'll really be impressed with what the tool has to offer. And even if you don't think maybe right now is the right time for you to start really taking advantage of this, take the trial so you know exactly what it has to offer you, so that you can then include this in your marketing and sales plans coming up. All right, because I'm not sure if you guys offer 7-day free trials all the time, or if this is a special thing just for everybody with us today. But like I've already said, I really recommend the product. It's really, it's even more than a product. It's really just like having a sales assistant on your team that you only pay $70 a month for. It's really that powerful.
Right. And Josh, last thing, you'd like to throw in some closing comments on the cold call essentials?
Yeah, just the stuff that I talked about pretty much covered it. I don't have a whole lot to add, except that, I see a lot of comments come in where people are asking questions about the messaging, and let me get to one that I responded to in the chat and just share this with everybody else. That Sherry asked, what do you teach to make the most effective messaging for favorable response? And I love the way that she asked that question, because the goal is favorable response. All right? Too many people approach this stuff as a sales pitch. All right? So you want to think with every step along the way, what is the next step that you want the prospect to take with you? And it's not signing up for your services or becoming a client of yours. That is down the road. When you're at this step of reaching out to a prospect for the first time, the first thing you want them to do is respond favorably to your outreach, which is either asking more information about what you do or agreeing to a phone call. Okay? And the best thing you can do to really spoil your chances of getting that to happen is to start pitching people too soon. So always keep it focused on the value you bring to prospects, and leverage shared connections if you have any. That can be a big one to getting in the door with people. But most of all, just think, all right, how do I structure these initial messages to get people to agree to phone calls with me? And from there, once you get them on the phone, then you'll have the opportunity to start talking about what you do. And so if you think about it in that context, I think you'll be a lot more successful with this. If you just start going out and blasting people with messages about your services and, give them the laundry list of all the benefits and features and everything and blah, 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 and here's why it's the greatest thing ever, and, that stuff will get you clicked on the spam button real quick. So that's kind of what I would add to that. And it looks like there's some other good questions that have come in. I saw one. Let's see here. There were actually several people asking if it works on a Mac. Clinton, can you answer that?
We have customers using it on a Mac with Parallels installed. So Parallels is something that you put it in so that it becomes compatible with a Mac. The software is basically PC based, so it needs something to work with a Mac.
Yeah. So Greg asked a question: how effective is this for information about privately held companies? And I know just from my experience that that's pretty much the only companies that we're targeting for, whether it's for our own campaigns internally or for our clients. And it's absolutely effective for targeting privately held companies, because the vast majority of companies any of us are going after are not big public companies. Some of us are, but most of the companies out there aren't public. And then there was another question about the monthly commitment, and can people stop and start at any time, or is there like a minimum contract, Clinton?
Yeah, people can stop and start at any time. It's a use as you go.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. And it works in the United Kingdom, right?
It's tailored for the USA. It does a lot of, it's focused on the USA. I
Okay.
do have UK clients who use it for UK email addresses, and I have another set of UK clients who use it for selling to businesses who are in USA. But it's tailored towards USA. But I suggest give it a try. See if it works for you. Use the 7-day trial. That's what it's for. 7-day trial comes with you can use it for on contacts that you have, and all the contacts that you generate from that 7-day trial, you get to keep it. There's an export button, so you can just take everything out from there, and you can keep it. Those are yours. Those are free. Courtesy us. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for taking the trial, and hope that gets you some business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you can use it for the 7 days, and you get to keep whatever emails and prospect data you compile over that time. So can't beat that. There was somebody that mentioned that the link shows that the discount expired last year. It says valid till January 24, 2013. Obviously, that's just a typo.
Oh
And
yeah, big typo. Sorry about
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's okay. I think everybody will forgive you on that. I'm still writing 2013 on stuff. It takes me about 4 months to remember that it's a new year. But
Hey,
I'm
no, it's
joking a little
2000.
bit.
It says 2004. It's 2014.
Yeah, yeah. And then there was another comment that Scott wanted to know if he uses the 7-day trial, but the coupon expires on the 24th. How does that work? And essentially, it's the promotion to save on the monthly that is ending till the 24th. But what about Rich? What about people that want to take the 7-day trial and want to wait until the end of those 7 days to make that decision? Will they still be able to get the promo code?
Yes,
Yeah,
they can reach out to our support team and then and to me or someone from our company. We'll take that decision, and then hopefully we'll be able to extend that offer.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would make sense because if somebody wants to jump in on the trial today, and then they use it for a few days, and then they're ready to go, it'd be nice if they could still get it. So I'm glad to hear you guys say that you can be flexible on that. Let's see here. Mark wanted to know if there will be a replay of this. Are you guys going to be sending out the link to watch this after the fact?
Yes, we'll be sending emails out to people, and yes, we'll give you a link to download and watch the replay again, and
Sure.
the presentation slides as well. So you should be receiving those, by the end of workday today. If not, we'll make sure that you get it by tomorrow. But yes, you will definitely get it from us.
Great, great. And yes, Bob, no annual contract. It's month to month. That is the case. Jim and David wanted to know if multiple people can use a single license. And I'm pretty sure that, if you have multiple people, you need to have more than one license, right?
yes,
Yes,
you
if
can.
there are
If there are multiple people, yes. But what you can do is, this is good for our bigger products. Right, the account researcher is great for people who need about maybe 20, 50 leads per day. Well,
Sure.
if you go for the bigger products, which you need for about 400 leads per day, yeah, those kind of things. Yeah, you can take one software, but you can install it on 2 PCs, but you can use only one PC at a time. Yeah, the bigger software can do that. I mean, it's good because I know people who have companies across the globe. So when one part of the globe is working, they use the software there, and then when they the big software that we have, they call the Lead Grabber Pro. That's for the 400 leads per day thing. And when the clock switches, when the other side of the world wakes up and starts working, they use it, but no one's using it in parallel. So some people just take it to office and then take it on the laptop home, so they're using it only one at a time. Yes.
Sure. That makes sense. That makes sense. Hey, I see a question from John Clinton, and he says, and I'm
Yeah.
not following this, On the trial download link, it is difficult to tell whether the small letters are a G or a Q. And what is the last symbol after the U?
I think he's talking about the license key that comes on the trial download. I recommend that you just copy the license key and then paste it in. I think that's the easier way out.
Okay, there you go. Good, good. So then, let's see here. Jack said, how do I register for the 7-day free trial?
Don't worry, Jack. We'll send you a 7-day free trial. Or what you can do is you can jump onto egrabber.com/AR that you're seeing over there, or just look at your GoToMeeting chat. If you look on your not GoToMeeting, sorry, go to webinar chat. There'll be a little box towards the corner of your GoToMeeting, and you might see a little balloon flashing over there. So click that, and you'll see something that Rich has pasted. That's the trial download link, so you can click that and get that. You can get the trial directly from there. Very easy.
Yeah, yeah. I like it. Dana just had a comment. She said, just buy the licenses. You will make money off of it, which is absolutely true, because we're here talking about a very minimal amount of money to invest for just the scope of data and intelligence, and that this is all going to put at your disposal, and that the ability to go out and really target people with this stuff, it works. I mean, like I've said a number of times already, we're using it on a day-to-day basis. So, we're talking here, and I appreciate that you guys have made, the special price and given a little bit of money off to make this easy for everybody to jump in on this. But
Absolutely,
again,
anytime.
That's really the $10 off or the $25 off. I'm sorry, is not, in my opinion, of what makes this worth doing. I mean, that's nice of you to do that, but the reason why everybody should be giving this a shot is that it works very well, and it's going to pay for itself many, many, many times over.
And give it a try, because if you're trying to implement Josh's methodology, the systematic way of doing things, you need it for a few days, for a few weeks to try out things and see which script works, which script doesn't work. Get a 1-month license, see how it works for you, put the process in place. You should see results in the first few weeks, if not the first month. And if you don't see results, I'll get back to Josh and us, and we'll let you know. And so the software can pay for itself. And once you put that systematic process in place, that's great, because now you have a template which you can hire new salespeople and give them exactly the same template, and you can grow your sales. It's quite easy. It's just catching the salesperson. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hey, Charles, I'm not sure if you saw Charles' question, Clinton. He said, is the $25 off the monthly off of the $79.95 a month, or is the $79.95 a month the discounted price?
The $79.95 is the full price. On the $79.95, that's $25 off.
There you go. Good, good. Well, I think we've worked through most of the questions. Is there anything that you want to add, Clinton, before we wrap up here?
Not really, but thank you, Josh. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your input on how people can take a process and put it in place and then get to their prospects in a systematic manner. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. It's been fun, and there's some more questions coming in, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And Clinton, Rich, I'll let you guys follow up with people individually on any specific questions they have about getting signed up for this, or any questions about your product. And above all else, as always, I really appreciate everybody joining us on this call today. I'm glad to see that everybody's enjoyed this, and I hope you got a lot out of it today. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon.
Bye now.